Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Throwing the Baby Out with the Bathwater. I'm Brian Cannot Tell. I'm going to set up a few things here real quick. Oops. Give me just one moment. Trying to get to where I can see chat and stuff as well. Having a slow morning this morning. I don't know why. Every Saturday or Sabbath, my day of rest, I try to come on, and about 10 a.m. when my kids were at home, we would get together and we would read scripture or other things, generally ancient texts or histories, try to learn about our past. Here we go. All right. Currently, we should be finishing up the Book of Enki, the 13th and 14th tablet this week. Good morning. I'm still trying to get it to where I can read a couple things at one time, but for some reason I can't separate my tabs this morning. Oh, there we go. Came up on the screen there. That's good. I'm probably glad I didn't know it did that before. Well, before I get started, I'll take a puff here. I am a medical patient in the state of Florida. I have Crohn's disease as well as degenerative bone disease as well as other things. I do not recommend anybody where it's not legal to use marijuana, but if it is legal in your area and it is a possible treatment, to look into it to see if it's possible for you. I know it's not for everybody. Some people are actually allergic to it, so it does work for me and has maintained my standard of living where I've been able to continue to work and stuff like that. So for some reason this morning I'm kind of shaky. I woke up early feeling well, but as with Crohn's, sometimes you just all of a sudden get hit with this kind of icky spasm, nauseous thing that comes over you. Started about an hour ago. I'm debating on even doing anything, going back to bed, but if my kids were here, we'd all just kick around on the couch and take it at the pace it goes. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. I thank you for a couple that have already joined me this morning. The ones that have stopped by and said hi. Simply Shannon, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'll be fine in a few minutes. It usually just takes a little while. Just one of them days. Been doing pretty good lately, though. Been staying on my diet, drinking my wheatgrass every day and the rest of my microgreens, and been maintaining a fairly regular schedule. This is only the second time sick in a week that it's been mild and not major, no major pain. So, thanks for joining me this morning. Cheers, brother. Yep. Well, I have been reading the Tablets of Enki. They were found in the library of Assurbanipal. They were done sometime 3,000 or so years before our modern era. They were translated by Zachariah Stitchin. There's a lot of controversy over some of his translations and all, but we're just reading through it, looking to see what we can hear and see historically, maybe see if there's some kind of link to our past on this earth. We have an open chat. Welcome to say and talk about anything in there, throw out any ideas. I just ask that we don't have any personal attacks against each other. Try to keep it civil and nice. I want us to be able to look at similarities and differences between our different beliefs. Hopefully it'll help us to find truth. SoFlo, thanks for coming in, buddy. Appreciate it for stopping by this morning. I have me another one here. Cheers. So here recently, in the last couple of them, we've been through the flood story and the reconstruction of civilization. This week, we're going to see the spread of quote-unquote mankind and the setting up of the God system over man. I'm going to read a real quick synopsis of what we're going to be looking at. It makes it a little easier to follow as you go along because they write a little different way of reading things. First, we'll see royal cities sprout, and they're going to put sacred precincts within them for the gods. We're going to have the establishment of demigods to serve as kings and priests in the palaces and temples. Marduk promises his royal followers an eternal afterlife. In Sumer, Inanna encourages belief in resurrection. Celestial omens and foretelling oracles gain followings. Marduk proclaims the coming age of the ram as his sign. Ningishzida builds stone observatories to show otherwise. Insurrections, wars, and invasions destabilize the Enlilite lands. The mystery emissary appears to Enlil and foretells a calamity. The emissary instructs Enlil to select a worthy man to lead survival. Enlil chooses Ibram, the scion of a priestly royal family. Armies are raised by Nabu. They attempt to seize the spaceport. Overruling Enki, the gods resort to weapons of terror. Ninurta and Nergal obliterate the spaceport and sinking cities. The drifting nuclear cloud brings death to all in Sumer. And it just dawned on me, one of the things I did not set up was my mic. Oh. And I had charged my thing, but I cannot find it. So I will use an earpiece. Oh. Ask your help real quick for those of you that are still in here with me. As soon as I figure out how to get this plugged in here, if you can hear me any better. Because I know sometimes I am not a loud talking person. I was a yeller and screamer for years. And it took me a while to learn to talk to where I didn't have to hear myself. And for some reason I talk too low now. Okay. We have a drifting nuclear cloud that brings death to all in Sumer. In the third region, civilized mankind did not fully blossom. What to Inanna was entrusted she neglected. Other domains, not to her granted, in her heart she coveted. When from Unug-Ki, at the count of 1,000 years, kingship was away was taken, who the calamity by the end of the next millennium could foresee, who the disaster would have prevented. That in less than a third of one shar a calamity unknown would befall, who could foretell? By Inanna was the bitter end started. Marduk as Ra was destiny entangled. Ninurta and Nergal the unspeakable end with their own hands delivered. Why was Inanna with her granted domain not satisfied? Why to Marduk did she unforgiving why to Marduk did unforgiving she remain? Journeying between Unug-Ki and Arata, Inanna restless and ungratified was. For her beloved Dumuzi she still mourned. Her love's desire unquenched remained. When she flew about in the sun rays, Dumuzi image she saw shimmering and beckoning. In the night time, in dream visions he appeared. I will return, he was saying. The glories of his domain in the land of the two Numeros to her he was promising. In the sacred precinct of Ungi-Kai, a house for nighttime pleasure she established. To this Gigunu young heroes, on the night of their weddings, with sweet words she lured. Long life and blissful future to them she promised, that her lover Dumuzi was she imagined. Each one in the morning in her bed was found dead. It was at that time that the hero Banda, left for dead, alive to Unug-Kai returned. By the grace of Utu, of whose seed he was, did Banda from the dead return. A miracle, excited Inanna shouted, my beloved Dumuzi to me came back. In her abode, Banda was bathed. With a sash and a fringed cloak on him was fastened. Dumuzi, my beloved, she called him. To her bed with flowers bedecked she lured him. When in the morning Banda was alive, with joy Inanna shouted, the power of not dying in my hands was placed. Immortality by me is granted. Then to call herself a goddess Inanna decided. The power of immortality it implied. Nanar and Ningal, Inanna's parents, by her proclamation were not pleased. Enlil and Ninurta by Inanna's words were disconcerted. Utu, her brother, was bemused. The dead to revive is not possible. Enki and Ninharshag to each other said, in the lands of the Kai Engi, the people their good fortune praised. Interesting that after they used some type of instrument to raise those that were in some type of suspended animation, those that they consider actually dead they cannot raise. The gods are among us. Death they can't abolish. So to each other the people said. On the throne of Unug-Kai, Banda his father in Merkar succeeded. Lugal, great man, was his title. The goddess Ninsun of Enlil's seed took him to be her spouse. The hero Gilgamesh, their son, on the throne of Unug-Ki, Lugal Banda followed. As the years passed and Gilgamesh older grew, of life and death to his mother Nisun he spoke. About the death of his forebears, though of Anunnaki descended, he wondered. Do gods die? His mother, he asked. Shall I too, though 2/3 divine, as a mortal over the wall climb? So to her he said, as long as on earth you abide, the death of an earthling you will overwhelm, Nisun to her son said. But if to Miru you will be but if to Nibiru you will be taken, long life there you will attain. To take Gilgamesh aloft to Nibiru journey, Nisun and Utu the commander appealed. Endlessly Nisun and Utu appealed. Day after day with him she pleaded, let Gilgamesh to the landing place go. Utu in the end agreed to guide and protect him. Ninhursag, a double of Gilgamesh fashioned. Enkidu, as by Enki created was he called. Of a womb he was not born, blood in his veins was not. With the comrade Enkidu Gilgamesh to the landing place journey, Utu with oracles his progress oversaw. I think this has often been referred to as a possible reference to robots. At the entrance to the cedar forest, its fire-belching monster their way blocked. With trickery they the monster confuse, to pieces it they broke. When the secret entrance to the tunnels of the Anunnaki they found, by the bull of heaven, a creature of Enlil, with deathly snorts they were challenged. To the gates of Unu-Ki the monster them chased. At the city ramp by Enkidu it was smitten. When Enlil this heard, with agony he cried. In the heavens of Anu was his wailing heard. For in his heart Enlil well knew, bad indeed was the omen. For having the bull of heaven slain, to perish in the waters of Enkidu was punished. Gilgamesh, having by Ninsun and Utu been instructed of slaying, was absolved. Still, the long life of Nibiru seeking, Gilgamesh to proceed to the place of the chariots by Utu was permitted. After many adventures, the land of Tilmun, the fourth region, he reached. Through its subterranean tunnels he proceeded. In a garden of precious stones, Zirasudra he met. The events of the deluge, Zirasudra to Gilgamesh related. The secret of long living to Gilgamesh he revealed. Now I'm going to take a moment to have you notice that in the next story of the flood, we have Gilgamesh holding on the outside of an ark above the flood waters. Here we have Gilgamesh being told of the previous flood by Zirasudra. So this is why I believe there's possibly a repeating thing that happens over and over again as far as the floods go up into a certain point, which may have been our 6,000 year point. The events of the deluge Zirasudra to Gilgamesh related. The secret of long living to Gilgamesh he revealed. A plant in the garden's well was growing. Zirasudra and his spouse from getting old it prevented. Unique of all the plants on earth it was. By it a man full of vigor can regain. Man at old age is young again. This is the plant's name. Zirasudra to Gilgamesh said. A gift of Enki with Enlil's blessing on the Mount of Salvation to us was granted. When Zirasudra and his spouse were asleep, Gilgamesh to his feet stones tied. Into the well he dived. The plant of being young again he grasped and uprooted. With the plant in his satchel, through the tunnels he hurried. To Anu-Ki he made his way. When he tired and was asleep, a snake by the plant's fragrance was attracted. The plant did the snake snatch from the sleeping Gilgamesh. With the plant it vanished. In the morning, his loss discovering, Gilgamesh sat and wept. To Unu-Ki, empty-handed he returned. As a mortal therein he died. 7 more kings in Unu-Ki after Gilgamesh reigned. Then its kingship to an end came. Precisely when the count of 1,000 earth years was completed it was. To Urim, the city of Nannar and Ningal, was the kingship of the first region transferred. To all these matters that in the other regions were occurring, Marduk much heed gave. By Inanna's dreams and visions, to Dumuzi's domain alluding, Ra was disturbed. To counteract Inanna's schemes of expansions he was determined. In the matters of resurrection and immortality he found much to ponder. The thought of divine godship to him greatly appealed. To be a great god himself, he announced. By what to Gilgamesh in good measure an earthling was permitted, Ra was angered. But a clever way wherewith the loyalty of kings and peoples to retain he deemed it. If demigods, the gateway to immortality, are shown, let this to the kings of my region apply. So did Marduk in the second region, by the name Ra known, to himself words say. Let the kings of my regions of Nibiru offspring be, to Nibiru in an afterlife journey. So did Ra in his realm decree. The kings how to build tombs facing eastward he taught. To the pre-scribes a long book he dictated. The afterlife journey in detail in it was described. How to reach the Duat, the place of the celestial boats, in the book was told. How to there, by the stairway to heaven, to the imperishable planet journey. Of a plant of life partake, the waters of youth to satiation drink. Of the coming of the gods to earth by Ra were the priests taught. Gold is the splendor of life to them, he said. The flesh of the gods it is. To the kings Ra said. To make expeditions to the Abzu, to the lower domain, gold to obtain, the kings he instructed. When, by the force of weapons, the kings of Ra's lands, not theirs conquer, his brother's realm he invaded. There ire he caused to arise and grow. What is Marduk up to? The brothers each other ask, that over us he tramples. To their father Enki they appealed, to Ptah, father Ra, did not listen. To capture all adjoining lands, the kings of Magan and Maluha Ra directed. To be the master of the four regions was his heart's plans. The earth is mine to rule. So adamantly to his father he said. Now this is the account of how Marduk, supreme himself declared, and Babili built, and how Inanna, warrior kings commanding, blood made flow, and sacrileges followed. And allowed. After the kingship to Urim from Unug-Kai was transferred, Nanar and Ningal on the people smiled. As his rank of 30 befitting, as god of the moon, Nannar was worshipped. As the count of the moon, months in a year, 12 festivals each year he decreed. To each of the 12 great Anunnaki a month and its festival were dedicated. Throughout the first region to the Anunnaki gods, great and lesser ones, shrines and sanctuaries were built. The people, to their gods, could directly pray. In the first region, civilization from Ki and Gi to other neighboring lands spread. In the cities of man, local rulers as righteous shepherds were designated. Artisans and farmers, shepherds and weavers, their products far and wide exchanged. Laws of justice were decreed, contracts of trades, of espousal and divorce were honored. In schools the young ones studied, scribes, hymns, and proverbs and wisdoms recorded. Abundance and happiness were in the lands. Quarrels and encroachments there also were. All the while, Inanna in her skyship from land to land roamed. Near the upper sea with Utu she frolicked. To the domain of her uncle Ishtar she went. Dudu beloved she called him. To the people who in the upper plain of the two rivers dwelt, Inanna took a liking. The sound of their tongue she found pleasant. To speak their language she learned. By the name of the planet Lahamu, in their tongue Ishtar they called her. Okay, so these were the Martians. Uruk, her city, Unug-Ki they called. Dudu as Adad in their language they pronounced. Sin, lord of oracles, her father Nanar they named. Urim city, by them was called. Shamash, bright sun, in their tongue Utu they called. Him too they worshipped. Enlil by them father Elil was called. Nippur by them was Nibiru-Ki. Ki in Gi, land of the lofty watchers, Shumer in their language was named. In Shumer, the first region, kingship between the cities was rotated. In the second region, diversity by Ra was not permitted. Alone to be reigned he wished. The eldest of heaven, firstborn who is on earth, thus by the priest to be known, he wanted. The foremost from the earliest times, so he decreed in the hymns to be called. Lord of eternity, he who everlastingness has made, over all the gods presiding, the one who is without equal, the great solidarity and sole one. So did Marduk as Ra above all other gods himself in place. Their powers and attributes to himself he by himself assigned. As in Lil, I am for lordship and decrees, as Ninurta for the hoe and combat, as Adad for lightning and thunder, as Nanar for illuminating the night, as Utu I am Shamash, as Nergal over the lower world I reign, as Gibil the golden depths I know, whence copper and silver come I have found. As Ningajita numbers in their count I command, the heavens of my glory bespeak. By these proclamations the Anunnaki leaders were greatly alarmed. Actually, we have once again a rebellious God raising himself above all those that are in authority over him. So I foresee another great war coming. I'm going to have to take a real quick break and go get some kratom. This is not letting up as quick as I thought it would. I will be right back. Pardon me for the escape. If anybody comes in, if you'll say hi to them, I'd appreciate it. I'll be right back. Take just a minute here. Engage in one of my bad habits. Thank y'all for hanging out and hanging on. I'm going to switch over for chat for just a minute so I can see who all's come in here. Dog Pound, Nos Dog, thank you for coming in, buddy. Combs, you know I'm live till about noon, buddy. So if you're going to sit in the background, you're going to have to be quiet. But you're welcome to come listen. MLT, thanks for coming in. Budget, I'll say hi, good morning to you again. Anytime you stop by. I'm going to have to go visit Simply Shannon after the show. I'm not sure if I've met Simply Shannon yet. Ah, I see Raw's son stopped in. It's my buddy SOS or Alien King. Your average girl, thanks for coming in too. OG Bobby, good morning, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. I normally stop between chapters to greet everybody and see what's going on in chat, but I'm having a little bit of gut issues this morning, so I'm taking a minute to recover so I can concentrate on reading and not on being nauseous. And something just kicked in some pain, so I don't know what I did. Could just be an attack on me today. You know how it goes. It's been weird. You have those days you wake up and there's light feelings in the air and you know things are going to be good. And you have those days you wake up and you're like, something's hanging around over my shoulder somewhere. I can feel that little darkness wanting to get in. You keep telling it to go away. Just want to look over his shoulder, find out if it's there. It's a beautiful day outside here in Florida. I know some of you are still cold and wet and all kinds of nasty stuff like that. Hopefully it gives you guys really good growing seasons this year. Makes your soil nice and fertile up there. I don't know how I just did that, but I knocked my cherry off. So I'm going to relight. That's the one thing about having a room full of people sitting around talking is when one person's quiet, somebody else can pipe up and fill in a conversation time. And yes, I know I'm hitting two things at once. It's because my brain's not all here right this minute. My distraction is partly that I've learned to mentally hold the nauseous at bay sometimes. And if it doesn't overcome, then I don't end up actually sick. And if I end up sick, that could last for anywhere from an hour to hours. I've got almost a month without losing a day of work to sickness. Which is a record for 3 years. Got a shift. this is why I wasn't going to originally go on, because I was afraid that if I stopped concentrating on not being ill, I was going to be ill. Because, like I said, I felt that darkness all morning there waiting. I'm going to do something that's going to seem odd to others, but I'm not a public prayer, but I do talk to the Creator when I have problems. And I ask that He gives me some relief so I can finish my talk this morning. I don't pray like most, because He hears what's in our hearts. I appreciate you guys for hanging on. I know you guys are listening. There ain't much to listen to right this minute. But you are seeing what really happens in a Crohn's situation. It is part of my life. I didn't shift my screen there, so if I repeat myself, I apologize. But I'm going to start where I had it at the top. To their father Enki, the brothers of Marduk spoke. Nergal to Ninurta their concerns convey. What has you overpowered? Enki to his son Marduk said. Overheard of are your pretensions. The heavens my supremacy to bespeak. Marduk, his father Enki answered. The bull of heaven, Enlil's constellation sign, by his own offspring was slain. In the heavens, the age of the ram, my age is coming. Unmistakable the omens are. In his abode in Eridu, the cycle of the 12 constellations Enki examined. On the first day of spring, the beginning of a year, sunrise was carefully observed. In the constellation stars of the bull was the sun that day rising. In Nibiru Ki, and Urim Enlil and Anar the observations made. In the lower world, where the instrument station had been, Nergal the results attested. Still remote was the time of the ram, the age of the bull of Enlil it still was. In his domains, Marduk, in his assertions, did not relent. By Nibiru he was assisted. To domains not his emissaries he sent, to the people that his time has come to announce. To Ninguzida the Anunnaki leaders appealed, how to people the skies to observe to teach. In his wisdom stone structures Ninguzida devised, Ninurta and Ishkur to erect them helped. In the settled lands near and far, the people how the skies to observe they taught, that the sun in the constellation of the bull was still rising to the people they showed. With sorrow did Enki these ongoings watch, how fate, the rightful order twisted, he pondered. After the Anunnaki as gods themselves declared, on mankind's support they instead are dependent. In the first region, to unify the lands under one leader, the Anunnaki decided, a warrior king they desired. To Inanna of Marduk the adversary, the task of the right man to find they entrusted, a strong man, whom on her journeys she had met and loved, and Nana to Enlil indicated. Arbakad, of 4 garrisons the commander, was his father, a high priestess his mother was. Scepter and crown Enlil him gave. Shahrukin, righteous regent, Enlil him appointed. As on Nibiru once was done, a new crowned city, the lands to unify was established. Agade, the unified city, they named it. Not far from the Kishi it was located. By Enlil was Shahrukin empowered, and Nana with her weapons of brilliance his warrior accompanied. All the lands from the lower sea to the upper sea to his throne obedience gave. At the borders of the fourth region to protect it his troops were stationed. With a cautious eye Ra on Inanna and Shahrukin constantly gazed. Then, as a falcon on his prey, he pounced. From the place where Marduk, the Tower of Heaven, reaching to build, had attempted, sacred soil from there to a god did Shahrukin move, therein the heavenly bright object to implant. Enraged did Marduk to the royal region rush. With Nabu and his followers to the tower's place they came. Of the sacred soil I alone the possessor am. By me shall a gateway of the gods be established. So did Marduk vehemently announce. Instructions the river to divert to his followers he gave. Dikes and walls in the place of the tower they raised. The Esagil, house for the utmost god, for Marduk they built. Babili, the gateway of the gods, Nabu in his father's honor named it. In the heart of the Eden, in the midst of the first region, Marduk himself established. Inanna's fury no boundary knew. With her weapons on Marduk's followers, death she inflicted. The blood of people, as never before on earth, like rivers flowed. To his brother Marduk, Nergal to Babili came. For the sake of the people, Babili to leave him he persuaded. Let us peacefully wait for the true signs of heaven, Nergal to his brother said. To depart Marduk agreed. From land to land the skies to watch he traveled. Amun, the unseen one, in the second region was Ra henceforth called. For a while was Inanna appeased. 2 sons of Shahrukin his peaceful successors were. Then on the throne of a god, Shahrukin's grandson ascended, Naram Sin. By sin loved he was called. In the first region, Enlil and Ninurta absent were. To the lands beyond the oceans they went. In the second region, Ra was away. As Marduk and other lands he traveled. His chance in her hands to seize all powers Inanna envisioned. Naram Sim to seize all lands she commanded. To march against Magan and Maluha, Marduk's domains, Naram Sin she instructed. The sacrilege of an earthling army through the fourth region, passing Naram Sin committed. Magan he invaded, the sealed Ekur, house which like a mountain is, to enter he attempted. By the sacrileges and transgressions Enlil was infuriated. Upon Naram Sin and a god a curse and put. By a bite of a scorpion did Naram Sin die. By the command of Enlil was a god wiped out. At the count of 1,500 earth years did this happen. Now this is the account of the prophecy by Gelzu to Enlil in a vision given. About Marduk's supremacy it was, how a calamity to survive a man to choose. After Marduk, Amun became, kingship to the second region disintegrated, disorder and confusion reigned. After God was wiped out, the first region there was disorder, confusion reigned. In the first region, kingship was in array. From cities of gods to the cities of man, it was moved about. Ungu Kai, Lagash, Urim and Kish, Isin, and faraway places, kingship was shifting. Then Enlil, with a new consulting, kingship in the hands of Nanar deposited. To Urim, in whose soil the divine, heavenly, bright object remained implanted, Kingship for the third time was granted. In Urim, a righteous shepherd of men, Nanar as king appointed. Namu was his name. Equity in the lands of Namu established. To violence and strife an end he made. In all the lands prosperity was abundant. It was at that time that in the night time Enlil a dream vision had. The image of a man to him appeared, bright and shining like the heaven he was. As he approached and by Enlil's bed stood, Enlil the white-haired Gilzu recognized. In his left hand a tablet of lapis lazuli he was holding. The starry heavens on it were designed. By the 12 constellation signs were the heavens divided. To them with his left hand Gilzu pointed. From the bull to the ram Gilzu his pointing shifted. 3 times the pointing he repeated. Then in dream vision Gilzu spoke up, and to Enlil thus said, the righteous time of benevolence and peace by evil-doing and bloodshed will be followed. The 3 celestial portion, the ram of Marduk, the bull of Enlil will replace. One who himself as supreme God has declared supremacy on earth will seize. A calamity as has never before occurred by fate decreed will happen. As at the time of the deluge, a righteous and worthy man must be chosen. By him and his seed will civilized mankind and the creator of all intended be preserved. So did Gilzu, the divine emissary, to Enlil in a dream vision say. When Enlil from the nighttime dream vision awakened, there was no tablet beside his bed. Was it an oracle from heaven, or did I in my heart imagine? Enlil to himself wondered. To none of his sons, Nanar among them, nor to Enlil did he of his dream vision tell. Among the priests of the Nibiru temple, Enlil of the celestial savants inquired. Tirhu, an oracle priest, to him the high priest indicated. Of Ibru, of Arbakad, the grandson, he was descended. 6th generation of Nibiru priest he was. With the royal daughters of Urim kings they were intermarried. Get yourself to Nanar's temple in Urim. The heavens for celestial time observe. 72 earth years is the count of a celestial portion. The passage of 3 thereof carefully record. So did Enlil to hear the priest say. The prophesied time he made him count. While Enlil the dream vision and its portents pondered, Marduk from land to land went. Of his supremacy the people he was telling. To the followers' gain was his purpose. In the lands of the upper sea, in the lands of the King and Gi bordering. Nabu Marduk's son was the people inciting. To seize the forest region was his plan. Between the dwellers of the west and the dwellers of the east, clashes were occurring. Kings' hosts of warriors forms, caravans cross-going, the walls of cities were raised. What Gilzu had foretold indeed is happening, and Enlil to himself said, upon Tirhu and his sons, of worthy lineage descended, Enlil set his gaze. This is the man to choose, by Gilzu indicated. Enlil to himself said. To Nanar, without the dream vision revealing, Enlil to his son thus said. In the land between the rivers, whence Arbakad had come, a city like Urim establish, a home abode away from Urim. Let it be for you, and Ningal be. In the midst of a temple shrine establish, the priest prince Tirhu, in charge thereof appoint, by his father's word abiding, Nanar in the land of Arbakad, the city of Haran established. To be high priest in the temple shrine, Tirhu he sent, his family with him. When 2 celestial portions out of the prophesied 3 were completed, did Tirhu to Haran go. At that time, Namu, the joy of Urim, in the western lands from his chariot fell and died. On the throne of Urim his son Shulgi him succeeded. Full of vile and eager for battle Shulgi was. In Nibiru-ki himself high priest he anointed. In Unu-ki the joys of Inanna's vulva he sought. Warriors from the mountain lands to Nanar not beholden. In his army he enlisted. With their help the western lands he overran. The sanctity of Mission Control Center he ignored. The sacred fourth region his foot he set. King of the four regions himself he declared. About the defilements Enlil was angered. About the invadings Enki to Enlil spoke. The rulers of your regions all bounds have exceeded. Enki to Enlil bitterly said. Of all the troubles Marduk is the fountainhead. Enlil to Enki retorted. Still the dream vision to himself keeping. Enlil to Tihiru his attention turned. Upon Ibrum, the eldest son of Tirhu, Enlil cast the choosing gaze. A princely offspring, valiant and with priestly secrets acquainted, Ibrum was. To protect the sacred places, the chariot's ascents and descents enable, Enlil Ibirum to go commanded. No sooner did Abiram from Haran depart, than in that city Marduk arrived. The defilements he too had observed, as birth pangs of a new order he them deemed. Ooh, there we got our first New World Order reference. From Haran, on the threshold of Shumer, his final thrust he planned. From Haran, at the edge of Ishkar's domains situated, the raising of armies he directed. When 24 earth years of his sojourn in Haran had passed, Marduk to the other gods, of whomever descended, tearfully an appeal made. Confessing his transgressions, but insisting on his lordship, to them he thus said, O gods of Haran, O great gods who judge, learn my secrets. As I girdle my belt, my memories I remember. I am the divine Marduk, a great god. In my domains as Ra am I known. For my sins to exile I went, to the mountains have I gone, in many lands I wandered. From where the sun rises to where the sun sets I went, to the land of Ishkar I came. 24 years in the midst of Haran I nested, an omen in its temple I sought, until when, about my lordship, an omen in the temple I asked. Your days of exile are completed, to me the oracle in the temple said. O great gods, who the fates determine, let me to my city set my course, my temple, Esagil, as an everlasting abode establish, a king in Babylon install. In my temple house let all the Anunnaki gods assemble my covenant accept. I bumped something and lost my place. Pardon me while I refind it. Wow, it jumped way ahead. Here we go. So did Marduk, confessing and appealing to the other gods his coming announce. By his appeal for their submission, the Anunnaki gods were disturbed and alarmed. To a great assembly counsel to take, and Lil them all summoned. All the Anunnaki leaders in Nibiru-ki gathered. Enki and Marduk's brothers also came. About the happenings, all of them were agitated. Opposed to Marduk and Nabu they all were. In the council of the great gods, accusations were rampant. Recriminations filled the chamber. What is coming no one can prevent. Let us Marduk's supremacy accept, and Key alone counseled. In the time If the time of the ram is coming, let us Marduk of the bond heaven and earth deprive, Enlil in anger proposed, to obliterate the place of the celestial chariots, all except Enki agreed. To use therefore the weapon of terror, Nergal suggested, only Enki was opposed. Of the decision, earth to Anu the words pronounced, Anu to earth the words repeated. What was destined to be by your decision to undo will fail. So did Enki say as he departed. The evil thing to carry out, Ninurta and Nergal were selected. Now this is the account of how fate to destiny did lead, how step by step, some in long forgotten times taken, the great calamity made happen. Now let it for all time be recorded and remembered. When the decision to use the weapons of terror was made, to himself and Lil two secrets kept. To no one before the terrible decision was taken did Enlil the secret of Galzu's dream vision reveal. To no one until the fateful decision was made did Enlil his knowledge of the terror's hiding place disclose. When despite all protestations the council to use the weapons of terror permitted, when Enki, angry and distraught, the council chamber left, in his heart was Enki smiling. Only he knew where the weapons were hidden. So did Enki think. For it was he, before Enlil to earth had come, who with Abgal in a place unknown the weapons did hide. That Abgal to exile Enlil the place disclosed, that to Enki was unknown. And I'll tell you real quick from a previous tablet we had that originally Enki had the weapons, he hid them. Then later when his brother was exiled to the land where Enki had hid them, the pilot showed him where those were. So Enlil moved them. So Enki thinks he knows where they are, but Enlil knows he knows. When Enki the second secret heard, in his heart a wishful thought he harbored, that after such a long sojourn the weapon's terror would have evaporated. Little did Enki expect the long sojourn a calamity as never before known on earth to cause. Thus it was that without Enki needing, Enlil to the two heroes the hiding place disclosed. Those 7 weapons of terror, in a mountain they abide, to them Enlil said. In a cavity inside the earth they dwell, with the terror to clad them is required. Then the secret of how the weapons from their deep sleep awaken, Enlil to them did reveal. Before the 2 sons, one of Enlil, one of Enki, to the hiding place departed. Enlil to them words of forewarning said, ere the weapons are used by the Anunnaki must the chariot's place be vacated. The cities must be spared, the people must not perish. In his skyship, Nergal to the hiding place soared. Ninurta by his father was delayed. A word to his son alone Enlil wished to say, a secret to him alone reveal, about the prophecy of Galzu and the choosing of Ibram to Ninurta he told. Hot-headed is Nergal. Make sure that the cities are spared, that Ibram is forewarned to Ninurta, Enlil said. When Ninurta at the weapon's place arrived, Nergal from the cavity had already been brought out. As their enemies from the long slumber he awakened. To each one of the 7 Nergal a task name gave. The one without rival, the weapon he called the blazing flame, he named the second. The one who with terror crumbles he called the third, a mountain melter the fourth he called. Wind that the rim of the world seeks he named the fifth. And the one who above and below no one spares was the 6th. The 7th with monstrous venom was filled, vaporizer of living things he called it. Wow, I think it'll be cool to sit down and take apart what these weapons could be, seeing as these seem to be the things that our government is trying to relearn. We know the one of the wind, I believe, is the same as referred to as the whirlwind in the Vedas, being the nuclear bomb. With the news blessing were the seven to Nergal and Ninurta given, therewith to destruction rake. When Ninurta at the place of the weapons of terror arrived, to destroy and annihilate was Nergal ready. I shall kill the son, I will annihilate the father. Nergal with vengeance was shouting. The lands they covet will vanish, the sinning cities I will upheaval. So did Nergal enraged announced. Valiant Nergal, will you the righteous with the unrighteous destroy? So did Ninurta his comrade ask. The instructions of Enlil are clear. To the selected targets the way I will lead. You behind me will follow. The decision of the Anunnaki to me is known, Nergal to Ninurta said. For 7 days and 7 nights a signal from Enlil the two awaited. As was his intention, when his waiting was completed, Marduk to Babili returned. In the presence of his followers, with weapons armed, his supremacy he declared. 1,736 was the count of earth years then. On that day, on that fateful day, Enlil to Ninurta the signal sent. To Mount Mashu Ninurta departed, behind him Nergal followed. The mount and the plain, in the heart of the fourth region, Ninurta from the skies surveyed. With the squeezing in his heart, to Nergal a sign he gave. Keep off to him he signaled. Then the first terror weapon from the skies Ninurta let loose. The top of Mount Mashu, with a flash, it sliced off. The mount's innards, in an instant it melted. Above the place of the celestial chariots, the second weapon he unleashed. With the brilliance of 7 suns, the plain's rocks into a gushing wound were made. The earth shook and crumbled. The heavens after the brilliance were darkened. With burnt and crushed stones was the plain of the chariots covered. Of all the forests that the plain had surrounded, only tree stems were left standing. It is done, Ninurta from the skyship, his black divine bird words shouted. The control that Marduk and Nabu so coveted, of it they are forever deprived. Then to emulate Ninurta Nergal desired, to be Era the Annihilator his heart him urged. Following the king's highway, to the verdant valley of the 5 cities he flew. In the verdant valley where Nabu the people was converting, Nergal as a caged bird to squash him planned. Over the 5 cities, one after the other, Era upon each from the skies a terror weapon sent. The 5 cities of the valley he finished off, to desolation they were overturned. With fire and brimstones were they upheavaled. All that lived there to vapor was turned. By the awesome weapons were the mountains toppled, were the sea waters were barred, the bolt broke open. Down into the valley the sea waters poured. By the waters was the valley flooded. When upon the city's ashes the waters poured, streams to the heavens was rising. Steam to the heavens was rising. It is done, Era and his skyship shouted. In Nergal's heart there was no more vengeance. Surveying their evil handiwork, the 2 heroes by what they saw were puzzled. By the darkening of the skies where the brilliance followed, then a storm to blow began. Swirling within a dark cloud, gloom from the skies an evil wind carried. As the day wore on, the sun on the horizon with darkness it obliterated. At night time, a dreadful brilliance skirted its edge. The moon at its rising it made disappear. When dawn the next morning came from the west, from the upper sea, a storm wind began blowing. The dark brown cloud eastward it directed, toward the settled lands did the cloud spread. Wherever it reached, death to all that lives, mercilessly it delivered. From the valley of no pity, by the brilliant spawn, toward Shumer the death was carried. To Enlil and Enki, Ninurta and Nergal the alarm sounded. Unstoppable, the evil wind death to all delivers. The alarm Enlil and Enki to the gods of Shumer transmitted. Escape, escape to them, all they cried out. Let the people disperse, let the people hide. From their cities the gods did flee, their frightened birds from their nests escaping they were. The people of the lands by the evil storm's hands were clutched, futile was the running. Stealthy was the death, like a ghost the fields and cities it attacked. The highest walls, the thickest walls, like floodwaters it passed. No door could shut it out, no bolt could turn it back. Those who behind locked doors hid inside their houses like flies were felled. Those who to the streets fled, in the streets were their corpses piled up. Cough and phlegm the chest filled, the mouth with spittle and foam filled up. As the evil wind the people unseen engulfed, their mouths were drenched with blood. Slowly over the lands the evil wind blew, from west to east over the plains and mountains it traveled. Everything that lived behind it was dead and dying, people and cattle all alike perished. The waters were poisoned. In the fields all vegetation withered. From Eridu in the south to Sippar in the north did the evil wind the land overwhelm. But Billy, where Marduk supremacy declared, by the evil wind was spared. Now there's an irony for you. Alrighty, so we have chapter 13 complete, and we're headed to the last tablet of Enki's Pleas. Ooh, can't see. There's something I keep forgetting to do each week. One of these days I'll get it all together. Morning, Bingus. Thanks for joining me, buddy. It's good to see you. This is actually the website I'm reading from. It's hard to find translations anymore. A lot of the libraries have been pulled from the internet as people are starting to read these. They're realizing that they don't want them to be read. Hope you're doing well, Bingus. Get set up for the next one here. Cool deal, brother. And, you know, I know I said shalom to everybody when I come on, but I hope everybody's having a blessed day today. It's break time for me. I had a little of the Bubblegum OG left. And it got mixed with some Alien OG. And where one makes me sleepy and the other one makes me talkative, I'm not sure exactly what this one makes me. Cheers. One of the shows I used to enjoy was my brother Bingus there used to, and he's still got some good content on his website about the medical uses of marijuana. A lot of good stuff about different preparations, different types of marijuana, different things like that. Good descriptions. But he was doing that fairly regular, but it's gotten busy with other projects and plans. Blessings to you. May they all work out. J and K Triple G. Good to meet you. Thanks for coming in today. It's smoke break time between chapters. I need to take a real quick pic here. Peek. Ah, J&K. Oh, I do remember. I did look at some of your stuff this last week. I'm bad with names. You'll have to forgive me. Yep, good to see you're here. Blessings to you. May you have a great Saturday. My brother mentioned he might be able to come by today with my niece. He lives up in Clearwater. He's getting ready to get into some foundry, iron working type stuff, and he wants to come grab a few tools, but he's talking about maybe throwing a line in at the Skyway Pier today, and there's been a lot of action out there lately, so I may have a fun afternoon. Everything goes according to plans. Might even come on live and show you guys what it looks like out there. Haven't done a nature walk for a few weeks. It's between icky weather and me being icky. Not got out very much. Had a real disappointment this last week. Went out to pick some more of my avocados. I was about to say guacamoles. To pick some more of my avocados, I had about 30 or 40 of them left in the top of the tree, and the whole tree was empty. My picker was in a different part of the yard, and evidently somebody climbed up the fence onto the shed and picked the top of my tree for me and forgot to leave me a thank you. It's crazy how this world's getting. You actually have to pass through my fence all the way to the far corner of my yard to get to my tree. Yep. I know there's a couple y'all in here right now. Anything interesting you've heard so far and want to chat about today? I just realized that if I looked at the screen instead of the computer, I could see whether or not that silly cat of mine was trying to sneak in and out the back door. Good deal, Bingus. Yeah, I know these long ones like this, whenever people had long lives and I was wanting to see what they were about and stuff, I'd click them on when I was working in the garden or on the job still. I do on my new job some days, but it's a pretty active little work area I'm in, and I got a boss that's in and out, and he likes to make fun of things that are going on my things I listen to. I'm noticing several things through reading today. One thing I'm noticing that the way the Epic of Gilgamesh is being presented to us is kind of funny. I need to look deeper into Gilgamesh. Somehow I missed that the first couple times reading through this, that it's telling two different timelines. And while this story has the element of the celestial scribe within it, Gaozu being the force from the creator that crosses time bounds and speaks the words of the creator to whoever, um, these texts were left out of ancient renditions of scripture, and it may be some of these discrepancies may be the reasons why they were left out. However, most of these texts, or some of these texts, I should say, were found already translated within the Dead Sea Scrolls, even though lost to time within the Library of Ashurbanipal. So we know that they either had copies or some kind of oral tradition handed down about some of them, and that may be where some of the changes occurred. Which is why I want to check into some of the timing of the writings of the Epic of Gilgamesh, see if they come out of the same set of the libraries and things like that, because I've never actually looked into that part of it before. But as I'm reading this, I'm seeing that something needs to be looked into. Interestingly, another thing that they obviously leave out when referring to these things is that celestial scribe which shows up within it. Showing that there is a guardian of mankind by the Creator, that even though there's a reset, there are those that are guarded. We find a reference to this scribe also in the Revelations and the marking of the people in the last days. I think that's an interesting cross-reference too. And something that's occurring to me is I'm wondering if Thoth in his proclamations wasn't trying to ascribe to himself some of that authority by inscribing on a set of stones mimicking a set that was given originally to Enki, maybe. That brings the two-seed war even more into this day and age. I'll be heading into the 14th tablet, the last tablet. And it's not a very long one. So it must be a wrap up here. Finish this and have another drag or two. I see you've got somebody hanging on. Thank you. I just realized the nauseous feeling kind of feels like a small tingling ball in my stomach now. It's weird. It's almost making me want to twitch. That's new. It is making me twitch when I concentrate on it. That's bizarre. Maybe somebody sent some healing energy out with their prayers this morning. Thank you. sounds weird. It makes me twitch when I concentrate on it. It's like a fuzz ball. That is strange, but I don't have to concentrate on it. That's cool. Synopsis of the 14th tablet. Babili, Mark's chosen center. Marduk's chosen center. It survives the calamity. Enki sees it as an omen of Marduk's inevitable supremacy. Enlil ponders the past, fate, and destiny. He accepts Marduk's supremacy. He retreats to faraway lands. The brothers bid a sentimental goodbye. Enki sees the past as a guide foretelling the future. He decides to commit all as a record for posterity. And colophon by the scribe Indubasar. Indubasar is the one who is currently writing these down for Enki. We have at the very beginning his attestation, which says that he is the scribe selected to write down these important events. Babili, where Marduk's supremacy declared, by the evil wind was spared. All the lands south of Babili the evil wind devoured. The heart of the second region it also touched. When in the aftermath of the great calamity, Enlil and Enki to Suri the havoc met. Enki to Enlil, the sparing of Babili as a divine omen considered. That Marduk to supremacy has been destined, by the sparing of Babili is confirmed. So did Enki to Enlil say. The will of the creator of all it must have been, Enlil to Enki said. Then to him the dream vision and the prophecy of Gelzu Enlil revealed. If that by you was known, why did you use the weapons of terror not prevent? Enki at him asked. My brother, Enlil to Enki, with a sorrow voice said, enough seen was the reason. Whenever after your coming to earth the mission by the obstacle obstructed was, a way the obstruction to circumvent we have found. Of that the fashioning of the earthlings the great solution. Also the fountain of a myriad unwanted twists and turns was. When you have the celestial cycles fathomed and the constellations assigned, who in them the hands of destiny could foresee? Who could between our chosen fates and our unbending destiny distinguish? Who false omens proclaimed? Who true prophecies could pronounce? Therefore, to keep to myself the words of Gaozu, I decided. Was he truly the creator of all's emissary? Was he my hallucination? Let whatever has to happen, happen, so to myself I said. To his brother's words, Enki listened. His head up and down he nodded. The first region is desolate. The second region is in confusion. The third region is wounded. The place of the celestial chariots is no more. That is what has happened, Enki to Enlil said. If that was the will of the creator of all, that is what of our mission to earth remained. By the ambitions of Marduk was the seed sown. What the crop resulted is for him to reap. Here we have the sowing and reaping idea thrown in. So did Enlil to his brother Enki say. Then he the triumph of Marduk accepted. Let the rank of 50 by me for Ninurta intended to Marduk instead be given. Let Marduk over the desolation in the regions his supremacy declare. As for me and Ninurta, we will in his way no longer stand. To the lands beyond the oceans we will depart. What we had all had come for. The mission to obtain for Nibiru gold we will complete. So did Enlil to Enki say. Dejection was in his words. Would different matters have been were the weapons of terror unused? Enki his brother challenged. Should we have the words of Gaozu to Nibiru not return heeded? Enlil retorted. Should Earth mission been stopped when the Anunnaki mutinied? I what I did. You what you did. The past undone cannot become. Is not in that too a lesson? Enki asked them both. Is not what on earth happened, what on Nibiru had taken place mirrored? Is not in the tale of the past the outline of the future written? Will mankind, in our image created, our attainments and failures repeat? Enlil was silent. As he stood up to leave, Enki to him his arm extended. Let us lock arms as brothers, as comrades who together challenges on an alien planet confronted. So did Enki to his brother say, and Enlil, grasping his brother's arm, hugged him as well. Shall we meet again on Earth or on Nibiru? Enki asked. Was Gaozu right that we die if we go to Nibiru go? Enlil responded. Then he turned and departed. Alone was Enki left. Only by the thoughts of his heart was he accompanied. How it all began and how it thus far ended he sat and pondered. Was it all destined, or was it fate by this and that decision fashioned? If heaven and earth by cycles within cycles regulated, what had happened will again occur. Is the past the future? Will the earthlings the Anunnaki emulate? Will Earth relive Nibiru? Will he, the first to arrive, the last leave be? Besieged by thoughts, Enki a decision made. All the events and decisions, starting with Nibiru to this day on Earth, to put in a record, a guide to the future generations to become. Let posterity at a time be destined Let posterity at a time by destiny designated the record read, the past remember, the future as prophecy understand. Let the future of the past the judge be. These are the words of Enki, firstborn of Anu of Nibiru. 14th tablet, the words of the Lord of Enki, written from the mouth of the great Lord Enki. Not one word missed, not one word added, by the master scribe Indubsar, a man of Eridu, son of Adbar. By the Lord Enki, with long life I have been blessed. And that is the ending of the 14th tablet, and I believe that we do see the repeating of these types of things. Good morning, blessed hands. Thanks for coming by. I've just finished the 14th tablet. I'm going to switch over here so I can read the chat for a minute. Take a couple puffs and wrap up. As I was saying, if you take and overlap our current history, it seems like we've almost repeated these cycles to the T. If to be believed, this particular cycle lasted somewhere in the 250,000 years before our current era to somewhere in the 12,000 year range. And then we see another possible 6,000 year cycle that comes to what we call the biblical age, and a repeat of these gods and these fashions happening over again. And exactly how these all line up, I'm not sure, but those are things I want to explore in the future and sit and talk with other people about. This morning, blessed hands, I woke up about 4:30. I was feeling good, but I had a feeling if I went back to sleep that I would not be getting up on time for my show, so I stayed up today. And I have completed it on time. I have a afternoon, hopefully, of some fun with my brother coming. Him and my niece are hopefully going to stop by, dig through some ironworking tools for him, and then possibly go do some fishing on the Skyway and look at the beauty of the bay for a while. Smalls, brother, good to see you. Hope you're having a good morning. I started out good, had a little hiccup in the middle of my program this morning, but I'm back to feeling okay. About to wrap up here. I do appreciate everybody who stopped by and everybody who's given me a thumbs up and said hi. I am in the process of debating this week on what I'm going to read next week, and we'll be watching the comments to see if anybody wants to throw any ideas in there. I do pray about these things. One of the things I have considered doing is possibly doing like a short biblical overlay where we talk about some of the different things, maybe do a small live panel. See, I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas around in my head. I'm going to continue on. I enjoy this. It helps me to continue to study and share on a weekly basis. It keeps me accountable to my own studies and that type of thing. Well, I've been brainstorming for a couple weeks, but now that I'm at the actual end of the chapters, I've got to make some decisions. So I'm throwing a few of those brainstorms out there. Maybe somebody will shoot me a comment on the video this week that'll help solidify some of those ideas, maybe. Blessings. I do appreciate all of y'all for coming in this week. May the Creator watch out over you. May His hand touch you. And may you know His word's truth in your heart. May you find the path of light and live within it. I want to thank everybody who came today. Much appreciated. And once again, I'm going to have to figure